Many names come to mind that were caught, imprisoned, or even executed. But there is a criminal boss that operates in the shadows, someone who even the FBI gave up on catching. His name, Li Fengwei, commonly known as Karl Lee, the Chinese underworld boss whose track record holds him the biggest drug and weapon trader that even American top agencies couldn't arrest. His name stays in shadow, often involved in financial records, shell companies, and suspected supply routes tied to illegal networks operating across multiple countries. Over the years, agencies in the United States, Europe, and the Middle East have all tried to understand who he really is and what role he plays. Yet despite advanced surveillance tools and years of coordinated efforts, his true identity, exact location, and level of control remain uncertain. Some intelligence officials reportedly describe him as less of a traditional criminal boss and more of a hidden connector, someone who appears only through the movement of money and goods rather than direct sightings or arrests. In internal discussions, he has even been called a persistent node in global illicit procurement networks, highlighting how often his name appears in different but related investigations. Because of this, Karl Lee exists in a strange space between fact and theory, a mystery man who has committed crimes but can't be traced or proved. Introduction to Karl Lee. Fengwei was born on September 18, 1972, in Heilongjiang, a remote province in northeastern China near the Russian border. Some accounts also suggest he may have had family connections to the military, including rumors that his grandfather served as a high-ranking colonel in the People's Liberation Army. However, many details about his early life remain unverified or unclear, adding to his reputation as a shadowy figure. What made him even more stand out was not just the scale of the alleged network, but the difficulty in confirming basic facts about the man himself. Intelligence agencies, including the CIA, Mossad, and Germany's BND, spent years tracking leads, yet reportedly only a single old photograph of him is widely believed to exist in official circulation. This lack of reliable imagery contributed to his so-called phantom status in intelligence circles. The allegations surrounding him are serious. He is widely accused of playing a central role in supplying Iran's ballistic missile program, helping it acquire sensitive dual-use technologies while evading international sanctions, including those imposed by the United Nations in 2006. These materials reportedly included components that could support missile guidance and range extension. Over time, what began as scattered trade anomalies evolved into a broader understanding of a sophisticated, multi-layered supply network, one that blurred the line between legal commerce and strategic weapons proliferation. The ghost behind the global trade, Karl Lee managed to stay out of reach of international law enforcement for years, even as agencies across the world tried to track him. What makes his case so difficult is that the investigators say that nothing about his operations looked obvious on the surface. There were no direct weapons shipments or clear signs of military trade. Instead, everything was hidden inside ordinary global commerce. As the experts explain, the goods that can be used for normal civilian industries can also have sensitive military applications. Items like graphite, aluminum, and high-precision instruments such as gyroscopes and accelerometers were allegedly moved through regular shipping channels. On paper, these materials looked harmless, just industrial supplies for engineering or manufacturing companies. But in reality, they can play a critical role in missile systems and advanced navigation technology. Because of this double life, these products often pass through customs without raising immediate alarms. Karl Lee was not just a mastermind, but someone who could quietly blend into the global system, moving through legal and illegal trade networks in a way that made him almost impossible to separate from normal international business. The investigators also highlighted how shell companies were used to hide the real network behind the trade. Instead of one visible organization, there were many small, scattered businesses registered under ordinary names like Sino Metallurgy or Limpt Economic and Trade Company. These companies appeared legitimate, with normal invoices, contracts, and trade documents. To outsiders, they looked like standard import-export firms, but investigators believe they were actually part of a larger hidden structure designed to move sensitive goods across borders without attracting attention. Most international trade relies on the US dollar, which means payments often pass through major financial centers, including banks in New York. According to the reporters, transactions tied to these companies were layered and carefully structured to avoid detection. By using different company names and breaking payments into smaller parts, the network made suspicious activity look like routine business deals. The international response. By the 2000s, Li Fengwei had reportedly become a priority target for several intelligence agencies around the world. What started as scattered mentions in trade records and financial data had slowly grown into a larger concern shared across borders. For investigators, the pattern was becoming too consistent to ignore. The FBI began working more closely with the US Department of State, trying to connect the financial activity with real-world shipments. At the same time, European intelligence agencies, including teams in Germany and the United Kingdom, joined the effort to track related companies and shipping routes. Israeli intelligence was also reportedly monitoring parts of the network, mainly due to concerns about how such dual-use materials could affect regional security and defense systems. Even though these agencies had different priorities and operated in different regions, their findings began to align. The same conclusion kept appearing in briefings and internal reports, which was that the network was active, flexible, and difficult to disrupt. Whenever one route was flagged or one company was investigated, another seemed to appear in its place. As evidence grew, diplomatic pressure also increased. US officials are said to have raised concerns directly with Chinese counterparts, presenting details such as shipping records, corporate registrations, and financial transfers linked to suspected entities. These discussions were careful but persistent, reflecting the seriousness of the allegations being examined. However, despite years of coordination and repeated exchanges of information, concrete enforcement action remained limited. Some officials believed the complexity of international authority made prosecution difficult. Others pointed to the sensitive nature of global trade relationships and the economic importance of existing partnerships. The global arrest warrant. Later in 2009, prosecutors in Manhattan announced a series of criminal charges against Karl Lee. According to the indictment, he was linked to a long-running scheme involving the procurement and export of restricted materials allegedly used in ballistic missile development programs. Alongside the charges, authorities also moved to seize and forfeit millions of dollars in assets believed to be connected to the network. Soon after, when a global arrest warrant was issued. By then, Lee was already out of reach. By this stage, investigators described him as something close to an intelligence ghost, not because he disappeared completely, but because he no longer appeared in any direct or visible form. Instead, activity linked to his network was believed to continue through intermediaries, layered companies, and encrypted communication channels that made tracking extremely difficult. One of the most unusual parts of the case was how little confirmed personal information existed. Despite years of surveillance efforts, only a few old photographs were ever verified. There was no reliable video footage and no confirmed biometric data shared between agencies. Even basic details about his background remained uncertain. Some reports suggested links to northern China during a politically sensitive period, while others pointed to possible family or institutional connections. But none of this could be proven with certainty. The case of Li Fengwei, also referred to as Karl Lee, and whether he has been definitively located or arrested remains unclear, but the importance of the investigation extends far beyond a single individual. Over years of analysis, agencies studying his alleged activities came to focus less on the man himself and more on the structure surrounding him. What emerged was not a simple smuggling operation, but a layered and adaptive network that appeared capable of moving sensitive goods through global supply chains while masking their true end use. This challenged traditional enforcement models that relied on clear authority, recognizable actors, and traceable transactions. Karl Lee was not just a strategist, but an exceptional thinker who could look beyond conventional limits and approach problems in a completely different way.